everybody, this is Mary and Callie Goen.
And this is David Owen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, the podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and television that they loved before the first date. And today I was made to watch Gremlins 2, the new batch.
Yes, the new batch. Gremlins 2 is, of course, the 1990 Joe Dante directed sequel to The Gremlins from 1984.
Was there that big of a gap? I didn't realize.
Yes, and we'll talk about it. So if you don't know about Gremlins, it's the Gremlins 1. This is the sequel to, of which this is the sequel to. It's a movie about a small creature called a Mogwai, which is like this made-up Asian mythological creature that goes to Kingston Falls and has adventures. And it turns out if you feed it after midnight, it gets wet and sunlight, and there's rules. And anyway, they run amok, the Gremlins, which are a result of the Mogwai getting wet and then the resulting additional Mogwai being inherently evil, apparently, and eating after midnight.
Yeah, it's kind of the more generations from the original, the worse they are.
Yeah, like Gizmo is good. Gizmo is our hero Mogwai. Gizmo is good. He is pure. He is a good boy. Forever and always. But yeah, every Mogwai that spawns from him is evil. Or goofy, as we see in this movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they survive all that, and then our heroes, Billy and Kate, find themselves in New York. They've left the small town of Kingston Falls, and they find themselves in New York. And this is, of course, from the first movie where Gizmo came from. He came from a shop in Chinatown in New York, which the owner of the shop dies. Gizmo is found by some guys who work in a genetics lab. And it just so happens that that genetics lab is located in the same building in which Billy and Kate now work. Billy following his dream to work as an architect or at least a designer or something. And Billy and Gizmo reunite. But, there are things that happen.
They're thwarted.
And silliness ensues in the best possible way. This movie is a lot of, so some movies, especially comedies, fall into this trap, and some of them don't recover, but I think this movie does, of just doing like skits, like just riffs, like people just sat in a room and was like, hey, I had an idea. What if we made this reference? What if we had a scene where this happened? And really the whole setup for this movie is just a means to reference, to connect. It's the connecting tissue that connects all the disparate skits together and ideas together. The Gremlins run amok in a New York City tower and eventually are thwarted by Billy and Kate and Mr. Futterman and Billy's boss Maria and Gizmo, and all is good, all is well, and we haven't heard from the Gremlins since.
Yeah.
So
and I guess
they've been handled.
I guess Gizmo goes back to their tiny little apartment to live with them.
And happy ending. So this was Joe Dante returning. Joe Dante did the original Gremlins. If you're not familiar with Joe Dante, he's been on the podcast before. He did Gremlins, of course. He also did Matinee. Mm-hmm. He did Inner Space. He did Explorers, which is a movie I might bring to the table at some point. He did The Howling. He did the old Rock and Roll High School with the Ramones. Joe Dante, one of those guys that just had this prolific career through the 90s and is still alive, I think, but sort of fell off. He did a movie called Small Soldiers, which I quite enjoy, but he really sort of fell off after that as far as being like given the helm of big budget stuff, and he gets lots of television directing after that. And, I don't really know why. We speculated on the last episode, but didn't research, did he have a sort of a proto Me Too moment? Did something happen? I think it's more of just like I want to say it's a Roland Emmerich thing, but I just realized the other day that people are still giving Roland Emmerich tens of millions of dollars to make big disaster movies. Mm-hmm. Like he made a movie like 5 or 10 years ago about Midway, like the Midway.
Oh, the battle
of Midway.
Yeah.
never. It's got like names in it.
Yeah.
He made that. I think that was Geostorm that he made like 5 years ago with Jerry Butler in it, and like people just keep giving this guy.
What? I'm sorry, Jerry
Butler.
You on a first name basis
Oh
with
yeah,
him?
me and Jerry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I helped him train for 300.
Right.
And yeah, ever since then, me and Jerry.
Well, that's why don't you get your beard like him in 300? I keep telling you.
I should.
Try to shape it. I want it to be like a topiary.
Yeah. It's a genetic thing. Not all men can be as perfect a beard as Jerry could. Yeah. But yeah, like he could have just had a sort of what should have happened to Roland Emmerich a long time ago could have happened to Joe Dante. But yeah. So I don't know why he doesn't. I see him in interviews every now and then. I don't know why he doesn't do more stuff.
We're probably going to get a call from his lawyer. Like, how dare you imply that my client has done something untoward?
Well, let's see. Well, no, we don't. We have no information whatsoever.
It's just easier to make up tawdry stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But so this movie is fun. It's stupid. It's comedic. It is most famous now, and I really do think at the time it released, it was the same thing. It is most famous for being a complete parody of the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some writing, some behind the scenes stuff on the first movie. So the first movie was penned by Chris Columbus of Home Alone fame, and he directed the first Harry Potter.
That actually explains some of the antics.
Yeah, yes.
Actually, now that I think of it.
And Chris Columbus was a hot commodity in the 80s for writing. Kind of like Cameron Crowe was in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And he Dante had some issues with the first script. And so but ended up directing it, and it's his biggest hit, like certified, it's his bona fide career maker, Gremlins. As much as I like The Howling, the first Howling movie, it did not make Joe Dante's career. It did give him inroads, like he probably got Gremlins because of the first Howling movie, but he had some issues with it. It was his chance to work with Amblin, with Spielberg, who produced the first movie, and he did a great job directing it. He understood what was needed for that movie, and his sort of slightly off-kilter sense of humor really made that movie a success. And basically Spielberg and Dante, Warner Brothers, right off the jump, we need a sequel. We need to have this out. We need more merchandise. Hardee's needs to release storybooks with 45 records.
Mm-hmm.
They need glasses to sell with their combos. We got to get this rolling. And they just, nothing came up that they liked. From what I understand, it's just a lot of like, hey, Gizmo comes back to visit, and he got wet, and now oh no, they ate after midnight, and hijinks. Or it would be like Gizmo's on a plane, and or like Gizmo's on a cruise ship.
No, I needed to be on a plane and bring in Samuel L. Jackson. I've had enough with the motherfucking Mogwais on the motherfucking plane.
These gremlins. Yeah. So it was just treatments like that, and they just weren't interested. And finally, Warner Brothers, this is the funniest thing to me, and we will watch this movie. Warner Brothers knew that, Universal or Paramount, whoever did this, they had Dick Tracy coming out. And I don't know if you remember this, but Dick Tracy, the promotion for that movie,
I kind of remember,
huge.
Well, especially because Madonna was going to be in it.
Yes,
so...
Madonna, and it was I think it was maybe McDonald's that had Dick Tracy. They had it in the Happy Meals. They had commemorative glasses.
They had it in Happy Meals.
Dick Tracy's a comic strip,
but not really.
Oh, Dick Tracy. The Dick Tracy movie is 100% geared towards kids.
Well, okay, but like Dick Tracy was not the comic strip that the kids were excited about.
No, no.
That was like Doonesbury, where you're
No,
like, this isn't funny. This is for my parents.
Well, right. They were bringing back a comic strip from like the 40s with Dick Tracy because it was, in the public domain and shit.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers was scared that Dick Tracy was going to be so big that it was going to usurp their monumental record-setting release of Batman the previous year in '89.
Okay.
So, Warner Brothers releases Batman. It's like the biggest thing ever. It's a huge merchandise thing. I don't know. So if you went to see Batman in the theaters, Batman '89 with Michael Keaton, if you went to see Batman in the theaters on this movie, there was a little Bugs and Daffy WB thing, right?
Yeah.
In the theaters, there was a like 2 to 3 minute ad for the Warner Brothers catalog. It's Daffy Duck going, "Get your Warner Brothers catalog." And in the lobby of the movie theater, and they had the bat symbol on it. And in the lobby of the movie theater where I saw Batman, they had the Warner Brothers catalogs that you could get on your way in or on your way out. And they showed you all the Batman toys, all the Warner Brothers merchandise, the Looney Tunes merchandise, all the stuff. It was a full court press. And that movie did so big, was so huge and did so much in merchandise, not just for Batman, but for Warner Brothers as a company.
That is an extremely 90s moment, that like merchandising was enough of a thing, but also it was pre-internet, so there was a physical catalog. That is a Venn diagram that is, the overlap is very small.
Yes, well, and they had a captive audience on the biggest movie of the year who were all in the, it's Bugs Bunny going, "Yeah, Doc, what you got there?" And then Daffy going, "It's the Warner Brothers catalog," and flipping through it and showing, "Look at all this stuff, Bugs, in the Warner Brothers catalog." And they created this juggernaut, and they wanted to recreate that. They wanted that same moment with Gremlins 2, because they already Gremlins 1 had already been this merchandising hit. They even referenced it in this movie. Sir Christopher Lee is in this movie, but he is outshined by a Mogwai. So they weren't depending on star power here. They were depending on the Clamp says, what I see when I see this? I see suction cups stuck to the window. That was
a thing.
Gizmo's
right?
Suction cup to windows were everywhere in the mid '80s.
Why though? It
was just successful marketing. They were a hit.
Okay.
And people wanted to buy them and stick them to their windows.
We're all sheep in the end, I guess, really. I thought I remembered there being other things too. Like, was there an Elmo or other suction cup things?
Yeah, like it was a thing to put suction cup animals in your car window.
Gizmo was the first. Okay.
Yeah, but he certainly was the most popular.
For people who really wanted to do Baby on Board but didn't have kids yet. They're like, this is the next thing.
So they finally, all that to say, Warner Brothers is so afraid of Dick Tracy and the juggernaut that they thought it would become. They thought it was going to sell toys and it was going to sell, tie-in merchandise and all this stuff, that they wanted to meet it head to head with their own juggernaut. And since they couldn't get a Batman sequel out in time to compete with it, they basically said to Joe Dante, "You can do whatever you want." They had been unhappy. Joe had been unhappy with every script they'd sent him. They said, "Look, you can get your own guy and you do whatever you want. So long as you can make this weekend. You can release the same weekend or prior to Dick Tracy." That was the only requirement. And then he brought in the writer, I can't remember his name, Charlie Haas, I think is his name. And they fleshed out what effectively became this story with some trims here and there. But and he was given a much bigger budget than the original, and they just went crazy. And there is a Key and Peele skit that we just watched before that sort of fictionalizes what happened. And to actually hear Joe Dante talk about it in interviews, he's pretty much like, that's not that far off. Like, we really just sat in a room with Rick Baker, who did the special effects. We really just sat in a room with Rick Baker and told him and just spitballed ideas with him. Because one of the things, so Rick Baker is a big time special effects guy, has been around for years and years and years and years. He's done a ton of stuff. Let's see, off the top of my head, I know like Planet of the Apes and stuff like that. But let's look at his CV. So he did Men in Black. He did that Wolfman movie with Anthony Hopkins many years ago, and
Benicio del Toro. I only know about that because that was in the queue that I was looking through this weekend, and then I was like, nope, not interested in that.
Oh yeah, like he did the Hellboy movies. He did, I think at least the first and second Men in Black. He was the one that designed the Grinch costume for Jim Carrey.
Mm-hmm.
He did the old age makeups and stuff in Life, which is a movie we were just talking about with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. I mean, Rick Baker is a legend of special effects, and basically, he was offered the job because the guy who did the original Gremlins was tied up. He was directing the sequel to The Fly, which is a weird movie.
Sequel?
Yes, it is a weird movie. And Baker was like, no, I don't want to just recreate the animatronics from the other movie. I'm not going to have any creative control. I'm not going to have any creative freedom. And Joe Dante was like, oh, no, we have a blank check effectively to do this. And they just sat in a room and they spitballed ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not unlike the Key and Peele skit of you just said noun and the word gremlin. You're crazy. I love it.
The most outrageous things often have their roots in real life.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Of just like, we're just spitballing here. Nothing's permanent. And then someone says electricity gremlin. You go, it's in the movie.
Mm-hmm. We play with live ammo. Let's go.
Yes.
I don't have any more time. So let me just recap right now. It's Brainy Gremlin, Spider Gremlin, Back Gremlin, Lady Gremlin, Googly Eye Gremlin, Electricity Gremlin, Hulk Hogan's gonna be in the picture. I'm gonna throw in a gremlin myself. Vegetable Gremlin, just write it up. I'm having so much fun, thank you. It's all gonna be in the actual film. Now I gotta go put some Cowboys in Back to the Future 3. Sayonara, y'all. Oops.
Now, okay, you guys know that none of that is gonna be in the actual movie.
And it really does feel like that. And when I was saying earlier, this is a series of ideas pinned together with a loose narrative. That's the stuff that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
Rick Baker was just sitting there going, what if I made a sexy gremlin lady? But how would we? And, at a certain point, they stumbled onto this genetic splicing stuff. And so now they have just carte blanche to do whatever.
And what if the guy decides that it's really not that bad?
Yeah. What if Robert Picardo just decides that he wants to fuck a lady gremlin?
Okay, so that is who it was. Okay, with hair.
Yes. Robert Picardo with hair is so weird.
Yeah, it did not register with me for a long time.
Yes. Yeah, what if we end our movie by Robert Picardo deciding that he wants to get in that gremlin vajayjay?
Oh, no. No. That was too much. That was too much.
So I've been talking a lot. Let's take a break here. Let's have you weigh in on something. We're going to talk about all these gremlins, but why don't you start us off? Of all the gremlins that are in this movie, the mutated and non-mutated gremlins.
Yeah.
Which gremlin is your favorite gremlin?
Oh boy. Well, first of all, let me say, the older I get, the more I have learned to appreciate stupid humor.
Yes.
When I was younger, like up into probably my mid-20s, I did not appreciate stupid humor. Like I thought, The Simpsons and South Park and Jackass, and I was like, oh, that's so lowbrow. Oh, And then I pulled the stick out of my ass, and like stupid stuff is funny. Now I will enjoy a good highbrow humor. I can't even tell you any highbrow humor, like high referential stuff.
Yeah.
But like smart comedy, yes, that's great. But like stupid comedy that just appeals to the absolute lowest common denominator, okay, yes, please. There are times when that is just right, and that is absolutely what this is. This is all completely stupid.
Oh yeah.
So speaking of the sexy gremlin,
sexy lady gremlin,
I have to say I'm actually a little uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
And this
now keeping in mind that gremlins as a species reproduce through asexuality. They are genderless they are sexless
Well,
in the strictest terms. They are coded male, of course,
yes.
very obviously coded
Yes.
male, but they are sexless. They are a single sex or no sex race.
Well, if you say so. And I had similar feelings about the first one, because I think there's scenes in the bar where there's like they're all playing poker or something, and some quote unquote girlfriend characters are getting
One of them is dressed up as a girl in that one. Yeah.
It's a little bit too close because none of these gremlins make for what you would call attractive people,
Sure.
let alone attractive women, and so it's a little bit. I don't want to say transphobic, because I feel like sometimes we're awfully quick to put that label on stuff that is just like, we weren't even thinking about trans people in 1990, at least broadly we weren't. I'm a little uncomfortable when the joke is, look how ugly this lady is, ha ha. Or like, ha ha, this man's dressed up as a woman and looks stupid. Like, and like, if they are in fact asexual, non-binary, gender neutral, whatever creatures, the fact that they are coded and portrayed as male, except for when we need a joke, makes me even less comfortable. So I don't really like that.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever, it is what it is. Like, okay, fine. Moving on.
So which one is your favorite? That was the question that was asked.
Well, that's my strongest feeling about it.
Okay.
More than any...
So putting the lady gremlin aside, which I see your point on that, but like they're all being genetically transformed. Like,
well, that one wasn't, though.
Yes. She specifically takes a drink from a vial that has the male and female symbols on it.
Okay. Well, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, you think that those boobies just grew in without
I was
genetic magic?
I was trying not to look.
The little gremlin
considering
boobies?
that we had that concept in the first one too, like, these gremlins are dressed up as girls.
Yes, but they were also dressed up as men. Like, they were dressed up as dogs playing poker. Like, like I get what you're saying 100%, but I'm saying, like, I think in the first movie, I think you were on firmer ground with this objection. In this movie, like, that gremlin drinks a potion and becomes a lady gremlin. An
ugly lady gremlin. Like, it's
so I think one thing that you have to consider is that this movie is not only parodying itself, but it's parodying every other thing that it touches, right? So this movie is, and one of the things we will get more in depth into, is going hard on making fun in a lot of ways of Gremlins 1, but it's also making fun of the and remember, this is 1990, so we're pretty far removed from this at this point, but the growing television culture of America. One of the things that Clamp owns is multiple cable channels and things like the Golf Channel and the Archery Channel,
the Safety Channel,
and the Safety,
like
he owns all of these different channels. So they're lampooning everything, and I would say that in the appearance of the female gremlin, with what could be interpreted as implant looking breasts, because breast implants have come a long way. But in the 80s, they were not great. And the lady gremlin looks to have, what today we would call filler or, lip filler or whatever. Big, over-exaggerated lips, these, large eyes and eyelashes.
It's a little bit Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah, this green flowing hair. Like, it seems to be this parody of this female ideal, which is otherwise unattainable without this special genetic potion. And you assume that this potion that they drank, it's either a sex change potion because it has a male and a female symbol on it, or it's a enhancement potion that turns you into the idealized version of your sex. We don't know what it actually is, right? So I can kind of read it more in this case as like with everything else that the movie's doing, a lampooning of this idea of plastic female perfection, this going too far with plastic surgery, because the lips are crazy, everything is exaggerated. So I definitely see where you're coming from, but I take this one. I think you're 100% on firm ground in the first movie, because that is a gremlin dressing up as a lady for the purposes of a joke. This, I think the appearance of the lady gremlin is the critique of this idea of quote unquote female perfection that was slowly rising through the use of plastic surgery in the 80s and 90s.
Possibly, I would like to see a citation on that.
It's just a theory.
I'm just telling you, I did not enjoy that part.
But let's stop fooling around. Which gremlin is your favorite gremlin?
I don't know. It's Ty. Well, I don't know. There's things I liked about a lot of them. I saw it with the bat. I saw where it was going.
Yes.
That it was going to be a gargoyle, and that was pretty great. I like the electricity gremlin. That was a little bit Ghostbusters at the end.
I like when he gets put on hold.
Yeah.
And that's like he's trapped in the phone with the hold music, and that is like his hell.
Yeah.
He's forever stuck on hold.
Well, and it was a funny little callback because Futterman from the first movie was complaining about foreign machines and then gremlins in the machines, and and he's saying gremlins before we even see the gremlins, and the whole idea of, and I think at the end of the movie they're like, so if your lawnmower won't work, there might be a gremlin in there, blah blah blah. So here, we've got gremlin, and I still
literal
to this
gremlin in the phone system.
Yes, I still to this day will sometimes be like, it's email gremlins. That's why that message didn't get to you. Blah blah blah. So that was fun.
And it's additionally, like, this movie, the jokes often have layers. Earlier in the movie, the phone system is shown to have gremlins. Billy is talking to Kate over the video phone.
Yeah.
And it's distorting, and eventually they get cut off. Like, it literally has the same sort of gremlins in the electronics that Futterman is talking about in the first movie.
Yeah.
And then later a literal gremlin gets trapped in the phone system. So the electricity gremlin and the bat gremlin. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the brainy one too, because it's nice to give them a way to communicate where it's not this big old pantomime thing.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Because the pantomime and just like the sight gags and stuff gets a little old after a while.
Well, and them didn't just like sometimes know, like saying a word.
Yeah.
Like
how do you
copy?
Yes. How do you know that one? And
and like you can peel those layers back, like we were talking about, like, a gremlin that is like, less than an hour old, dresses up as a secretary and is banging away on a keyboard and like knows what a hot pot of coffee is. Like the innate knowledge that a gremlin is born with. Like I want Sir Christopher Lee to study that. How do gremlins have a sense of comedy timing that is built into their,
that develops before the prefrontal cortex.
Right,
I don't know.
Right.
Speaking of, it always delights me when serious actors, I hope you can hear me saying serious, capital S, actors, capital A, take roles that are just stupid and funny, and you hope that they're having the time of their lives.
Oh, yeah.
Like, whenever Meryl Streep does anything now that's silly, which now she's at the point in her career when she can just do whatever, and it's going to be fantastic because she's Meryl Streep. But, I don't know, like Mamma Mia, Devil Wears Prada, I'm just like, there's no accents required here. No one's going to lose a child. No one's going to cry. No one's going to die. I hope you are having so much fun. And same here. Like there's no fire. Well, there is fire. Yes, there's fire at the end. And fire. There's no curses. There's nobody on horses killing people. Like I hope you're having fun.
There's no one trying to stab him with a stake in his heart.
Yes.
Yeah. The thing about Christopher Lee is like he has this storied career, but like it is like it's like some of these actors when you realize it, like the prestige actors, there was a point where Christopher Lee was known for being Dracula in B movies. Like, and this time in the 80s and 90s, he was not Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
How, as we knew him, seeing, you just said her name.
Meryl
Streep in Death Becomes Her.
Yeah.
In just a hard comedy role.
Yeah.
Be like, that sometimes you forget, and it's fun to look back on this time when like Christopher Lee was absolutely a name. Like for him to be in this movie was a big
kind
deal.
Of
yeah. But like he was a couple years removed from being in the sequel to The Howling.
Yeah.
Which was like My Sister is a Werewolf was like the subtitle of that movie.
Yeah.
So like
or like Jennifer Aniston in Office Space, like the time that came out, she was just this girl on this sitcom, and now like she's not Meryl Streep, but like she's done much more serious stuff, and so the context is different.
Yeah.
So that like still a name in '99, but not the same. Kind of thing.
And it's a lot of fun to see that, and to see people that would seeing early roles of people that go on to become really super famous, or seeing this like is Christopher Lee like slumming in this, or was this just literally like he just needed a job,
or was he just having
fun? Right?
Does he know how to have fun?
And I think he's 100% playing into his Christopher Lee-ness in this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, and again, this movie is full of references and parody.
It's all very knowing.
There's a lot of like low shots shooting upwards, like
with the lighting and stuff.
With the Dracula lighting and stuff with him. It's great. Like it's full of that.
I also enjoy that his name is Dr. Catheter.
Dr. Catheter.
Why? I don't know.
Why not? Why not?
Sure.
This movie has a ton of great actors in it. It has like one of the big things that this movie does is like a lot of cameos, and it's the kind of cameos like I'm not even gonna like try to recount a bunch of them, because they're cameos of people that are like you have to be kind of the time and in the know, like Paul Bartel, who is like a director and an actor that people know at the time, and he's not super famous, but like him, he's in that. He's the theater manager. And the guy that comes down the stairs as the operator, that's somebody too.
Sometimes you don't know, is it a cameo or is it just they were a working actor and they needed a job? Because like Julia Sweeney, to me, now it's cameo, but this was a way different time. So.
Those, I'm pretty sure that these are all cameos. Like Julia Sweeney, maybe not. That could have been a bit part. But like Bartel and it's Kenneth Tobey is his name. I don't know what he's famous for, but he's famous for something.
Okay.
And then like Charlie Haas is in the movie. Joe Dante is in the movie. That kind of stuff. It's just, and it's full of these, and like John Aston, Gomez Adams.
That was fantastic.
Is just in the, and that's clearly a cameo.
Yeah.
That's not just John Aston needed a role, and hey John, we have a role of the janitor you're reading for today, along with every other schlub in Hollywood who needs a job. Like, no,
tough competition.
That is clearly Joe Dante knows. Like the third kid from Explorers plays the kid at the yogurt stand who's the male attendant. That's clearly a cameo. That's not a, that's like Joe Dante, because the other two people from Explorers are Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix.
Oh,
so he will forever be known as the third kid in Explorers. That kind of stuff. Like they filled it with these cameos that are all great, and even some of the cameos are like where the people, like the lady that plays Microwave Marge, Kathleen Freeman. Like I know her from so many things.
Yeah, like
she just has this like very particular voice that and like she has yelled at kids to get off her lawn in movies.
She's been the nosy neighbor on more sitcoms than I have hands.
Yes, and then
fingers. Sorry, I only have two hands.
Yes, yes. Jeez,
two is not a lot.
And then like people who are in the movie are like Geddy Watanabe is in the movie. Your guy, where is he on the list? Robert Prosky.
Oh, yeah. Who giggled.
Who plays Grandpa Fred.
I giggled. He was who played the station manager or the head of the news division or whatever in Broadcast News.
Yes,
which came out a couple years before this, and they have this character say, because he's like hosting a late night movie show.
He's like a Zachary or a Svengali, like a horror host.
And he says, "Oh, I used to be in news, and
I always dreamed of being running a newsroom, and like it's very like." And again, it's one of those things that it's just Joe Dante and Haas just in a room writing jokes that only they might laugh at. It's almost like Andy Kaufman in Man in the Moon, there's a scene where it's him and the other collaborator guy where they're talking about jokes, essentially jokes that they're playing on people, and they're the only ones that get it.
Yeah.
You know, like it, yeah, and it's going to be funny to the two people that get it, and that's how I feel like Joe Dante was like, we're going to have this, and like a quarter of the audience are going to get that joke, and to us, we're going to laugh out loud, and everybody else in the theater is going to wonder, why did they laugh when the vampire guy said he dreams of owning a newsroom or running a newsroom? You know, like it's full of that.
Yeah, if you're in the presence of other people who get the joke and they laugh, then that feels weird if you don't get it. But in general, I like jokes like that where if you don't get it, it just keeps on going and you don't miss anything.
Yes. Yeah.
There are different, and of course I can't describe it right now because I can't think of it, but there are different ways to set up a joke where if you don't get it, the whole experience is ruined for you. And this is not that. This is, if you don't get it, it just keeps going, which I enjoy. That's hard to do. It doesn't sound hard because I can't come up with a description of the other way to do it, but it seems like it's hard. So good job there.
I agree.
30 years later, I'm giving you your kudos. Yay.
And then, you know, in the movie, like the mom that comes out of the theater was in The Howling, which is, you know, like I said, kind of Joe Dante's breakout movie. You know, there's a lot of stuff like that. And then there's just the parts where Joe Dante is literally just getting out his frustrations with having been forced to, make the first Gremlins with the Chris Columbus skit or with script. There is a point where Billy's trying to explain the rules, and there are guys they're in the control room of the security office of the building, and they're riffing like, midnight, huh? Like, oh, so if what if he eats something at 11 o'clock and then a piece gets stuck in his teeth? Like a sesame seed, a caraway seed gets stuck in his teeth, and then at 12:45 he pries it free and he eats. Is that eating after midnight? Or like, well, he's on a plane.
And the time change.
He's crossing time zones. Yeah. There's daylight savings. Is that, you know, like because, and I have heard in interviews, some of those are literal questions that Joe Dante and his crew were like asking, like, how does this shit work?
Yeah.
You know, like, what is midnight? When is midnight? It's midnight everywhere, anywhere in the earth at some point. You know, it's always midnight somewhere.
Can't be touched with water. But what about soup?
Right.
What about juice?
Yeah. There's a point where he's he's playing with one of the goofy gremlin is playing with paint. Yeah. If this was water-based paint, would he multiply?
He's eating frozen yogurt but it's melted. So how? Yeah.
Like but his body is like 80% water. Why doesn't he? You know. And yeah, the survival of a species that can't go in the rain or drink water or be near. You know, it's like the aliens in War of the Worlds that that come here, or the ones in Signs that come to a planet 70% covered in water and they're allergic to water. And so it's filled with these sorts of things, including the best joke in the whole movie.
Oh God.
Where they lampoon the Santa story that Kate tells in the bank. The hold on a minute moment of Gremlins where she talks about her dad getting stuck in the chimney and dying, and that's why she hates Christmas.
We finally showed the first one to our teenager over Christmas, by the way, and he was like, yeah, I'm glad you didn't show that to me when I was younger, because that wouldn't have gone well. Now he's cool with it, but
yeah. And there is a moment where Kate is like, don't mention Lincoln. Oh, it was a President's Day. We were in the park. There was a guy that looked like just like Lincoln. He was in a trench coat, and Billy comes up and puts his arms. Kate, we don't have time for this now. He takes her off the screen as she's still telling the story. Like such a great acknowledgement of that. And the lady complaining at the theater, same deal. Apparently, during the kitchen fight scene in the first movie, where Billy's mom is fighting and blending up and microwaving the Gremlins, a lady brought her kid out and complained to Joe Dante, like at the premiere.
Oh gosh,
apparently.
Really?
And the story is, and I don't know if I believe this or not, that while the lady was complaining, the kid broke free and hid in the theater to watch the rest of the movie. That the kid so wanted to be back in there, and the mother was so appalled. And of course, famously, Gremlins is one of a couple of movies that created the PG-13 rating, which this movie is rated PG-13.
I believe it. Yeah. You know what? Speaking of kitchen scenes, I I'm wondering, is there some sort of epigenetic sense for trauma in Gremlins? Because one of them, so they all bust in on they have the cooking demonstration show,
Yeah.
and one of them sees the thing and just goes microwave and stuffs all the cookware in there and turns it on. But one of them was killed in the microwave in the original.
first movie,
so
yes.
yeah, like the seeds for the trauma are planted. They know how their brethren have died. All these
well,
years
and it's that thing where you know he is so into lampooning the first movie. Now, are you saying like, is this a callback or is this just, oh, there's a microwave? You know, like, is he like tempting the audience? Like, you think? Because that was like possibly the grossest part of the first movie is the gremlin exploding in the microwave.
Well, yeah, and I thought that the gremlin was going to go in there and didn't. But the gross here was the gremlin going through the shredder.
Yes, going through the papers.
I don't remember them being quite as green before. They were more reddish. In the first one.
There's definitely
this one looked like broccoli puree.
Yeah. And they have the green blood, but yeah, this is a little greener. And there was definitely an effort to create unique color schemes. Because in the first movie, all of the gremlins are the same color, or all of the mogwai are the same color. And
they added more diversity this time.
Yes, they did. And the differentiation is in the facial features and the size, the ear size and different things like that, and the body size. And of course, Stripe has a stripe. In this one, we have Mohawk, who is the Stripe stand-in, who doesn't rise to the level of Stripe. He's the one that becomes the spider gremlin and then gets killed.
Okay. Yeah.
But in this one, Stripe has almost black fur with white. The Stripe stand-in Mohawk. There is the googly-eyed gremlin has a really light tan, like lighter. He's lighter than Gizmo. And you have different patterns and you have different facial structures. The ears are bigger, more exaggerated. They went a long way to differentiate, and that will, unsurprisingly, won't surprise you to find out, was because of marketing and because of toys, selling toys. When you have 5 gremlins, 5 mogwai, and they all look very similar,
people don't buy 5.
Like all of the Care Bears are different colors with different pictures on their chest, on their tummies. All of these gremlins are distinctly different colors, and then the mogwai. And then when they're gremlins, those color differences carry over. And then, of course, just once they start getting mutated, those are all, completely unique action figure possibilities.
So you say, collect all 5.
Yes, yeah. Come to Hardee's and collect all 5 gremlins. You want that lady gremlin? Come get that lady gremlin.
Nobody wants it.
Gremlin.
Nobody. No.
Robert Picardo does.
How did they market the electricity gremlin as a?
I think it was just like a blue plastic, like, because there's a point where you kind of see it and it's like the outline of a gremlin shape. Yeah. And so I think like the blue plastic gremlin toy was just like,
man, if I got that in my kid's meal, I'd be pissed.
I don't know. It's probably pretty cool. Maybe it did a day glow thing or something. You charge it up in the sun.
That doesn't sound.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in this movie, but like, that's not the fun stuff to talk about. Like getting into the little romance subplot with Kate and Maria, who's like this.
Yeah, whatever.
And Maria, and like, again, this movie is every single bit of this movie is a parody, right? Maria is a parody of the 1980s career woman, obsessed with her career. Like, there are even points where she's like lamenting the fact that this gremlin infestation is keeping her from doing work. And the whole building is automated, and that is a send up of this reliance on computers and automation that was slowly creeping in the 80s into the 90s. The
talking elevator, though, reminds me of an actual elevator that I was in a hotel, which was not as advanced as this, but when it would announce what floor you were going to, and it had a sort of a sexy female voice, 4th floor, which I think is not great security wise in hotels. I know a lot of women who, when they travel alone, are very careful not to ever reveal to anybody where their room is. I'm like, I'm not, I'll take the risk. It's fine. I don't expect to be harassed like that. But so anyway, that's probably not great. But anyway, but when you were going down in the elevator, it would go, lobby, which I still can remember that. I think that was like 15 years ago that I was on this trip, and I still giggle whenever I'm in an elevator, and none of the other ones say lobby. but it was very flirtatious
Yeah.
voice. Oh, you're going to the 4th floor.
Yeah.
I bet you are, you handsome man. Oh. So anyway, this elevator is a little bit more personalized.
It is. It says things like, lobby, doors opening, please get out. Yeah. And the voiceover in the building, the intercom in the building is great. And it's the automated system, but yeah, it has this attitude, and it does. There's a lot of great background jokes in this movie, little things that pass by. Like one of my favorite movies from the last 20 years for that is Not Another Teen Movie, which is a parody of the teen movies of the early 90s and early 2000s. And it has so many call out jokes in the background where it's just someone saying, "You get them," and whatever, yelling something out. And a lot of these jokes, especially of the lobby computer talking, and the elevator computer talking, and the building's on fire. That's right. The untamed element, fire. Yeah. Please commence with,
It sort of reminded me of the very end of Spaceballs when they're all evacuating the ship.
Yeah.
And they're doing the, 10 minutes until explosion. 10, 9, 7. Yeah. Just kidding.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, this movie is every bit of it is designed to parody something. I think even the, brainy gremlin is, he's juxtaposing intellect with brutality. He just shoots another gremlin.
Yeah.
He's saying he wants
and
civilization.
He was that wasn't very civilized.
Right. Oh, that wasn't very civilized, was it? Yeah. And his, some of his lines are the best. And especially the lines that are almost throwaway, like the line we both laughed at about
street crime.
Yeah,
we've
got to figure out how to get to all these Broadway shows. And there's all the street crime, which I'm given to understand we can watch for free.
Yeah.
That's just a little throwaway. The scene has moved on, but they keep that continuity of him talking in the interview. And of course, if you were calling this movie out for potentially sexist, undertones earlier. Getty Watanabe playing a obsessed Asian tourist, who apparently 10 cameras,
apparently then is American. So, but
which doesn't have an accent. Yeah, he's not. He's just
not
playing it up, which is nice.
We did not jump into the painful stereotype there, but we were teetering on the edge.
Yeah. Well, in this movie, I think has a problematic relationship with Asian culture to begin with the Mogwai and all of this sort of stuff. But let's
they
dwell on that.
They demolish the building because the owner
Chinatown
dies, and I was saying, what happened to the grandson in the first movie? They're just demolishing it with all his stuff in it. You got to empty this out. What kind of lease is this? But not the point.
The grandson has been. It's to quote Harrison Ford talking to Mark Hamill. It ain't that kind of movie, kid. It's not. If you're worried about that, we've done something wrong.
I don't know. I don't like that though. When people are like, it's not that deep. I'm not saying it's deep. I'm just saying this is an obvious hole. That's all.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the explanation is, the timing is right. That the kid is just gone. He was only there with his uncle, his grandfather for the summer, for the winter, whatever, it was wintertime. For the winter, okay, but whatever, you can write it off in 1,000 different ways, but yeah, you're right. They just erase the character of the grand. Maybe he got sent away,
for punishment,
right? He sold the Mogwai when he wasn't supposed to sell the Mogwai. But yeah, my favorite gremlin, just if anybody's asking, is probably the brainy gremlin, Tony Randall, doing a bang up job. Tony Randall, one half of the original Odd Couple.
Okay.
Tony Randall. The brainy gremlin. Love the brainy gremlin.
Who was the other half?
If you hadn't asked me, I could have told you. I don't know.
Okay.
Do you want me to look it up?
Yes, please.
Okay, play some music while I
The
look it up.
Odd Couple used to be a much bigger cultural concept. When I was doing speech competitions in the 90s here, a lot of people did Odd Couple skits, and there was a female Odd Couple, and I don't remember if that was whole new characters or was it just instead of Oscar, it was Olivia and Felicia. I don't know. And now I have to think hard to remember anything about the Odd Couple.
Okay, so update. So the original Odd Couple in the Neil Simon stage play was Walter Matthau and Art Carney.
Ah,
The
okay.
television show Odd Couple was Tony Randall and Jack Klugman.
Ah, okay. Okay.
And then later we would have Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon as the Odd Couple, I think.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the one from they did some movies, a couple movies with them.
Okay.
But yeah, the original television Odd Couple, Tony Randall.
And question, if you're under the age of 30, do you know any of these names?
Yeah,
probably not.
Just the concept of the Odd Couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, have they brought that back?
We're kind of due.
Is there a fourth wall breaking Matlock-esque show about the Odd Couple?
Yeah, we're kind of due for a revival, honestly.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Okay, we'll workshop it. We'll come up with a 10-part Netflix series about it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. Oh, the other thing I was gonna mention is this movie does a sweet fourth wall break, where the film gets burned.
That's great.
And apparently there were a lot of people fooled by that because I never saw this, but that did happen. If something went wrong with there was a very, very bright light going through that film, and that film was celluloid. It was flammable. It was easy to burn.
Yeah.
I don't know, flammable, but it was easy it would melt easily. And so, yeah, if it wasn't done just right, and that's why projectionist was not it became a job that a kid did at the movie theater. But early on, projectionist was not some throwaway job. Like it was, you had to splice in and you had to read the markings on the edges, and you switch between the reels and all this stuff. Like,
and you make sure to put a still of the penis in there.
Exactly. Splice one in. Yeah, so it burns, and then they cut to the out, and they do the joke with the mom complaining, and then the theater manager comes down and asks Hulk Hogan to help him out, and Hulk Hogan cuts, as we say in the wrestling business, cuts a promo on the Gremlins, and tells them that if they know what's good for them, the Hulkster's going to come up there, and so they start the movie over. And as you pointed out during the movie, wow, that doesn't have the same effect if you're not watching the movie in the theater. And I said, oh, wait until we're done. And then I showed you the arguably better VHS version.
That was pretty good.
So they shot the understanding that they were going to, it's 1990, so they know that they're going to release on VHS. They have an alternate version. And in that one, you start to get the tracking problems, and everything gets wobbly, and then it goes to static, and you see the same Gremlins who do like shadow puppets. They do a sweet Abe Lincoln shadow puppet, and then it goes to clips from a Western movie that features the Gremlins, and then John Wayne shows up, and it's a clearly dubbed John Wayne.
Was he dead at the time? I think he was.
I'm not sure, probably. But it's a clearly dubbed John Wayne.
Yeah.
But it's
you
pretty Gremlins.
It's pretty easy to imitate John Wayne.
Yeah. It was
just a couple words.
It was a very
you varmints, get off my land. Go back to your own movie.
It's
that was not good.
Right before you did that, you said it's easy to imitate John Wayne, and then you did that. I just want to sit with that for a second.
It's easy for some people.
Okay, you were talking just in general. It's easy. I got you. All right, understood.
I wasn't prepped.
Oh, you weren't ready, right?
I'm sick. I'm recovering.
This is an excuse. I got it. So next episode, when you're fully better, when we start the episode, have your John Wayne. Just you get your index phrase is pilgrim. Just pilgrim over and over until you get it right. Okay. She's lost it. She's done.
I'm gonna need a minute.
Yes. We're close to wrapping up. We'll let her finish this thing that's happening. Oh, let's mute that mic. All right. Yeah. So they do a John Wayne skit, and it resolves with John Wayne telling them that they better restart the film. And they restart the movie. And yeah, it is, I think, so one of the things is time passes, and Hulk Hogan has been revealed to be a sexist and a racist and a overall bad person, including him recently appearing on WWE television and being mercilessly booed.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
WWE recently went to Netflix, and on their first episode of Raw on Netflix, they brought him out, and he was pretty mercilessly booed.
Wow.
As he deserves. They should not bring him back ever.
Yeah.
Because for whatever he shut down Gawker and won, however many dollars, like he still said what he said on that tape.
Yeah.
He's still on record. A lot of people will tell you how racist he is, how sexist he is, how all these, horrible things about him.
I am shocked. Shocked.
Right. I mean, it's one of those things. Like, he is not someone we should be holding up, and it doesn't hurt. The only person who benefits from the continued relationship between Hulk Hogan and the WWE is Hulk Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
It continues to legitimize him and the things he does, like his stupid All-American beer that he made that WWE invested in. And just another reason that I haven't watched WWE in like 10 years and will not go back, because their business practices are objectionable, and I don't watch them anymore, and I will not ever again.
What if they put the WWE in schools?
I know. What if they did? That would be horrible. Everyone. Well, so if it's like parts of the Bible aren't objectionable, like you could say, like, well, they're teaching moral lessons. Like, there's the same thing. Like, oh, you're going to show the kids Mankind versus Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. Like, yeah, that's a great match. You're going to show Bret Hart versus Steve Austin. Great. Oh, you're going to show anything Hulk Hogan?
Well,
let's not do that.
That was a McMahon joke.
I know it was. And I was just running with it because that's what I do. Yeah. So Gremlins 2, great movie, new batch. They got a whole new batch, vegetable gremlin, electricity gremlin, bat gremlin, spider gremlin, googly-eyed gremlin, mohawk
Collect
gremlin.
all 5.
Yep.
But then they die, so don't get attached.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing that I don't think anybody ever gets, but then, like, if you read about it, they will tell you, like, hey, did you get this? Is that there are 2 gremlins that are kind of referred to as the twins in some circles. And it's the mean-looking gremlin that isn't Mohawk, and the goofy bucktooth gremlin that isn't the googly-eyed gremlin.
Okay.
And they are always together. They are supposed to be a mice and men thing. A Lenny and what's his name?
Wow, that is much higher brow than I would have expected.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Does one of them kill the other?
I don't think so, but the bucktooth goofy one is always messing up and causing the other one to have to deal with the ramifications of his messing ups.
Don't give me a mice and men pairing if one of them doesn't kill the other.
Yes,
like that's
yes.
that is
it's required.
Chekhov's gun.
Yes.
Steinbeck's imbecile. This is how it goes.
For all we know, that wasn't actually the intention, but like that has become the lore of those 2 characters. Yeah. But this movie is it's a classic in a way that I think is it's not cult classic. It's bigger than that. But it's not a classic in the same way that the original Gremlins is a classic. Like, there needs to be another word for what it is, because it's everyone should watch it. And a lot of people have, but it doesn't rise to the fame of the original, but it's also not some underground unknown thing. And it's super worth watching, if nothing else, just to watch how it makes fun of the original.
Yeah.
And the concept of Gremlins and the and just the idea. And it is also all of that parody and making fun of the original. There's also this through line of making fun of American consumerism. Like, this is a business tower in New York that effectively has a mall on the first couple of floors and has a gene splicing place in it, and they're commenting on, you think back to the 90s, like Dolly the sheep and all that stuff was a few years off, cloning the first animals. That stuff was already happening. It was already being talked about, the stuff that they're sort of predicting, some of which comes true, the heavy computer automation, a lot of that is true, and the building not working is a little bit of a throwback to Peltzer, to Rand's inventions always failing to.
Well, and the thing at the end, Billy drew a watercolor of Kingston Falls, just to, they're downtown, which is, if you recall, is very picturesque and blah, blah, blah. And Clamp picks it up and is like, oh, this is what Americans want for the new development. It's going to be, what did he say? I can't remember. Like manufactured charm or something like that. And you're just like, oh, God, which honestly, that's a lot of what you have now. You don't have an actual Main Street. You have shopping centers that are designed to look like Main Street. Main Street.
Yeah.
And they're completely fake.
And we can't fully get out of here without talking about Clamp just briefly. Clamp, as I understand it, started as a complete stone cold parody of Trump.
Yeah.
A developer who thinks he can save the city, etc. And then when the actor David I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I don't know. He was in Scrooge.
He's in Scrooge.
I've seen him recently.
When he came in, he played the character with a sort of dumb honesty about him. Like they wanted a mustache twirling villain, and the way that he started playing the character was more of this, just like, he just doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, he's just sort of rudderless, and he sort of happened into all this success through no intention of his own. And he's just kind of, he's like a moth to a flame. Like he sees, he has all these different things going on because he just can't focus on one. He has this building and he's doing this automation, but it doesn't quite work. And he has all these cable channels, but all the weird cable channels, like the archery channel and all this other stuff. And he's looking for this development or that development. He owns this and he owns that, and he's all over the place. And because he played the character in this way that sort of ended up being kind of like sort of dumb, charming kind of way, they end up rewriting the character to have him try and fail to sort of be the hero at the end of the movie. So instead of him, like, there are scenes where he's supposed to be clearly in his like Fortress of Solitude at the top of the building. And those scenes were probably originally him like turning knobs and tweaking things and, removing security locks to let the gremlins in here or there, or, let's see how this will go. And he became this sort of character. So, what was very clearly starting out as and again, this is a thing of the times, like something you don't understand if you weren't around in the 80s and 90s is that Donald Trump was the butt of the joke.
So many jokes. Like,
always.
We should have kept a running total for how many movies we've watched for this that have a Trump joke in them. It's a lot.
Especially from the group of people who were making movies in New York. Like, there are certain West Coast directors and there are East Coast directors. And the East Coast directors hated Trump and made fun of Trump, and he was the butt of their jokes, and they held him up as everything that was wrong with New York, like, upper society. Like, he was clearly a grifter and clearly a charlatan and all of these things. And in these movies are in the 80s and 90s are pointing all of this stuff out, and would continue to for many years.
Nobody paid.
And nobody paid attention.
And we're all gonna suffer for it.
Yes.
Anyway,
so Clamp gets a bit of a rewrite, sort of, mid production, and he becomes more of sort of a hapless half hero in the story. And I think that fits better. Like, they needed a different actor. I think they cast someone who would sort of evoke Trumpian vibes. The hair, I think they were looking for someone who looked like a physical analog of him. And what they got was an actor who just went to a different place. Yeah.
Well, so that actor, I wonder if that's just something of his sort of an air that he has about him. There's a podcast I listened to called The Villain Was Right, where as their catchphrase is, we watch movies from the villain's perspective and decide if they were all that bad. And they did an episode on Scrooge, and they talk about that character he's brought in to be an antagonist to Bill Murray, and like, it's framed as if he's going to take Bill Murray's job, but they said he's actually trying to be helpful, and he's sort of kind, and he's, and like, I don't think kind is the word to describe him, but like, he's not a mustache twirling villain. Like, you can tell he's, quote, the bad guy, but he's not evil.
He's not super evil, but he is in that movie. He is definitely waiting for Frank's downfall in that movie, for sure.
But he doesn't.
John Glover.
Okay.
That was
okay. But he doesn't have that air of absolute. Like, he's not.
He's an opportunist.
Whatchamacallit, Daniel Plainfield and There Will Be Blood. Like,
he's an opportunist. Like, he is happy to have Frank's empire fall into his lap through his connections.
But he's not going to pull the trigger
to the boss and all that. Yes, he's not going to be the one to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, John Glover. But yeah, that is a character who was, I mean, just down to the cover of the book with Clamp.
And the same font,
in the same font.
color
it's in
scheme,
silver, I think, instead of gold, but like very clearly. And the other fun thing that I pointed out is that the Clamp building has a logo out front, and it's like a tilted C that's literally clamping the world.
Yeah, so it's like flat.
Yeah, so it's like
donut shaped.
Yeah, but the first thing I thought was the Enron E that was also at this angle in front of the Enron building. You know, and again, like this is before unintentional, but like how many things that they get right. But basically, they're saying like they're giving you this. Look how self-obsessed this guy is. Like his logo is the first letter of his first name clamping down on the world, and pretend, and he's all the while pretending that it's all for the better, but yeah, he gets a redemption.
Maria from PR probably came up with that while smoking many, many, many cigarettes.
Yes. So. Yeah. But I think that's Gremlins 2. Yeah. There's a lot. I can keep talking about Gremlins 2 for like another hour. It is, I think, I can't say Gremlins 2 is better than Gremlins 1 because Gremlins 2 by itself loses so much of what it is without Gremlins 1. Like if this movie, if this was a different sequel that totally went out on its own, sure. But I enjoy rewatching this more than I enjoy rewatching the first Gremlins. I still think the first Gremlins is the superior movie. It's one of those perfect weird 80s movies that I love so much, but Gremlins 2 does so much with the Gremlins mythology and is so creative with all of the different crazy gremlins, and it's just so much fun to watch that I would, if you gave me a choice between which one I want to rewatch, I would rewatch Gremlins 2 9 times out of 10. Not better than the original, but only because the original has to exist to make Gremlins 2 as good as it is.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
So watch it. Watch Gremlins 2 if you haven't seen it. It's a great sequel.
Yeah. Well, yeah, folks, we would love to know what you think about it if you have in fact seen it. Any points that we missed, which is your favorite Gremlin. And it's not the lady one. We're taking that off the menu. That's not okay. You can get in touch with us a couple different ways. You can email us, or you can find us on Facebook, or you can find us on YouTube. Our handle is the same for all three. YSMY Podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours, except that on YouTube it's at YSMY Podcast. YSMY Podcast at gmail.com to let us know that Dave is wrong about the lady gremlin being
Lady Gremlin.
Yeah. We have new episodes every other Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today, no matter when you're listening, there'll be a new episode up. We have the links on our Facebook page. And 2 weeks from today, I will be hosting. And we are going back to the movies that we've both seen. And Dave saw them because of his stepsister. We call these Rachel movies. Not like there's a ton. I'm talking like there's a dozen, but we're just doing the next in the set. And next time we're watching one of my favorites, The Cutting Edge. It's time. We don't have Olympics this year, but we're going to talk about the Olympics through the movie.
Topic.
Yep. I saw a tweet the other day that said Gen X should just normalize saying topic when there's a very simple concept that someone else is having a hard time understanding.
Right. Yes.
Like,
100%.
I'm explaining like nothing wrong with. There's nothing inherently right about the Oxford comma. It just depends on what style guide you're using, and they don't get it. And I'd just be like, topic. That's maybe not the best example, but you see where I'm headed with it. So
gotcha.
So topic, everybody. In the meantime, this has been You Show Me Yours. We'll see you in 2 weeks with The Cutting Edge. Thanks for listening. Bye.
The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io.